Weapon design is my passion. Playing Medic in TF2 is kind of a boring experience as it is. I know some people enjoy it, but I personally was never really able to get into it just because having to be tethered to somebody to be even halfway decently contributing to your team is not the type of playstyle that I want. I want to be running around shooting enemies. Chances are the medics on your team want to be running around shooting enemies, so please make sure to thank them for kind of sacrificing their own sanity and fun to heal you. So as I was kind of brainstorming weapon ideas, I kind of thought of a medic syringe gun that would allow you to contribute more to your team by dealing damage and attacking enemies than by healing. And I think I've come up with a pretty good way to get some use out of the syringe gun concept, because right now the only thing you should be using if you're trying to win as medic is the crossbow. The other options provide some use, I guess, but really the crossbow just has so much utility because it can heal and give Uber that there's no reason not to use it. So I figure, you know what? I think we should try to make something that rivals the crossbow by giving you a syringe gun that can deal Uber on hit. Now, I understand that a suggestion within the community for a very long time has been to buff the stock syringe gun and the Blutsauger, I guess the overdose, all the syringe guns really, by making them give you back some kind of Uber charge per hit. Now, I think that this is pretty poorly thought out because the implications of this are you can get Uber charge freaking quick, right? The syringe gun doesn't fire super slowly. Really all it takes is maybe 10 seconds and you have a full Uber charge through that method, assuming you can hit even most of your shots. You definitely would have to add some sort of other rebalances on the weapon to make that viable in TF2 that doesn't just make you able to build Uber almost instantaneously. So this weapon is kind of built off of that concept. Let me go through the stats here one at a time to kind of show you what I was thinking and I guess what this weapon specifically would do. Uber charge also applies to the user. So what this means is in contrast to normal TF2 where you have to be holding your medigun to receive the effects of your Uber charge, you are now able to boost yourself with your Uber, whichever one you want, with either your syringe gun out or your bone saw out, and basically the medic himself can attack while he's using his own Uber. This stat was added to make it so that battle medics are a lot more of a viable strategy. If you're just going solo, which I mean you can if you really want. It's kind of a meme play style, but I think the more practical use for this realistically is if you're getting away from enemies. You aren't just popping crits and trying to book it for the hills. You can actually be firing back while you're doing this and kind of encouraging more of an aggressive play style. But generally I think this is something that would make playing attack medic a lot more fun. It would give you a lot more I guess flexibility with how you use your Uber charge. I think this stat specifically is one that could certainly be applied to the stock syringe gun in normal TF2 and it wouldn't completely break the game. On hit, plus 1% Uber charge. So essentially this requires 100 hits to fully charge your Uber. I have applied other downsides later on to make it so this is the preferred way if you're running this to actually gain Uber charge. But I think that this would be a really, really good tool. The syringe gun's also kind of hard to aim. If someone's zigzagging, you're not going to hit a ton of your shots, but if you can just WM1 into a charge or into a stationary heavy or whatever, you're basically going to get a full thing of Uber really, really quickly. And then the 25% faster firing speed is just to give this a little bit more damage in a way that also doesn't conflict super hard with the gaining Uber charge on hit stat. Generally, right, the stock syringe gun's damage is kind of pitiful. If you're having an entire playstyle based around dealing damage to get Uber charge like this, I think having some kind of DPS increase is almost necessary just so you don't lose basically every single fight you go into. Okay, the two downsides are iffy. I might change them a little bit as we go. I'd love to hear general feedback on these, but here's what I think would make this the most balanced. Number one, users marked for death for 3 seconds after Uber charge ends. This is to make it so using your Uber charge isn't for free. Because you're going to have it a lot more, I wanted to make there be some way of I guess, like, forcing the medics to choose carefully when they're popping Uber versus just, like, popping it, getting it for 8 seconds, and then rebuilding it, like, instantaneously. So, you have 8 seconds of invincibility, that's cool, but you better be in a safe place once that's worn off, because you'll get, like, instantly deleted if you're still, like, hanging around enemies. So, that's just to add a little bit of risk to, like, popping Uber in the middle of a crowded group of enemies, just to make it so medic can't, like, get away with really stupid bullcrap. Again, maybe I'll change that. I don't know if that's like a super good downside, but that's generally my intent. And then minus 25% Uber charge build rate on wear. So build rate only is affected by mediguns. This basically makes mediguns, whichever one you have equipped, gain Uber charge 25% slower. This number might be a little low. I originally had it at 50, and I was like, okay, no one would use this if it was 50 because you have to run in if it's 50. But generally, this makes it so dealing damage to get Uber charge back is the preferred method of doing so, to kind of like force medics that are going to use this to play more aggressively. I think like restricting how flexible this is important because it already has a ton with its base functionality, so making it so you can't like just spam down corridors and then heal teammates to get the rest of your Uber is going to be a genuine concern with this. So those are the stats. I think this would make playing medic really, really fun just because, again, it allows you to like attack people and help your team. Or I guess play solo if that's the thing you want to go for. But you can like run at enemies. Hopefully you survive. You don't have the healing that the Blutsauger gives you, but just by like keeping enemies at a reasonable distance. I don't know. I feel like people would actually figure out syringe gun combat if this was a good incentive to do so. But alrighty, let's get into designing the weapons. I think that's enough rambling about stats for now. So as I mentioned when I did the designing random medic weapons video, the syringe gun is kind of a weird case in terms of weapons because it's not really based on anything. To my knowledge, every one of Medic's weapons except for his bone saw are completely original. They're not based on any like real life model of anything. So we kind of have a little bit of freedom, but that also means that it's going to be harder to kind of like solidify a concept. I think what I want to go for though is some kind of like futuristic, like, electric-y weapon, because that would make it look a little bit like you're sapping something, or it's, like, draining people's energy, because, like, I guess, is that really what Uber charge is? It's, like, just stored energy? I don't really know, but I think this would thematically work well enough. What in the heck did I just find? What is this? It's an iFunny branded image of a gun? Am I missing the humor? Is this just like 4 layers deep in irony and I just don't get the joke? Or did somebody... I don't freaking know what the point of iFunny is. I thought it was a humor image app. Anyway, the gun itself looks kind of cool though. I might take some components of this. Man, this is kind of hard too because like even the Blutsauger had like some kind of like, I guess, visual consistency that it could do because sucking blood, there's like a medical tool already built for that. But building Uber, like... I have to make up a fictional weapon within an already fictional universe, so we're really gonna have to stretch the bounds of what's, I guess, reasonably possible. Alternatively, I could just give Medic a Tech 9 and call it a day. Actually, something like this would be really cool if I was able to modify this to look like it was fitting syringes versus whatever the heck is on here right now. Yeah, I could probably make this work. Alright, I think what I'm going to start off doing here, I'm just going to have to play around with shapes for a general outline, because right now, I don't know what in the world I'm going to do for this. Okay, so here's option 1. I don't mind how this looks necessarily. This is supposed to be a needle. This is the container showing how much Uber you currently have. It looks a little too much like a nail gun, though. Obviously, that's not like in TF2, but it still could be a concern. Okay, I'll save this though, and I'll keep looking. So again, for quick recognition, the 2 existing syringe guns, I guess not really the Overdose, but the Overdose has a weird silhouette. The 2 existing syringe guns are basically black boxes, so we'll have to make this a white box, or a white whatever it's going to end up being. I'll draw it in like really light gray here, just so you can still see it on the background, and then like hue shifted up later, but it's supposed to be like basically white. So my new thought is that we could have the main part of the syringe gun basically be like a vial of whatever the default freaking syringe juice, the Uber juice is, suspended between two cylinders, so you can pretty easily tell what's going on. And I think this would give it a little bit of a sleeker aesthetic normally, but I'm going to add a little bit of bulk elsewhere. So like here would be the white bits. It would basically be a shell like this, and the white bits will be resting on these like, or I guess this one big gray bit. And this will be where all of the fun triggers and everything happens. So generally, this is what I'm thinking the silhouette is going to look like, although I might add some stuff kind of like jutting out of the sides here just to make this not super boring. Kind of looks like a squirt gun right now, but I'm hoping that problem gets alleviated the further in we get. As a kid, I was never able to color in the lines, but thankfully now I can just edit out all the mistakes I make. Yeah, it looks like a milk carton or a milk bottle placed on top of a handle. Okay, we're gonna have to do a bit of work to make this look not like that, but as far as the silhouette goes, it's coming along. Well, I think I'll like this the further in we get. So now let's add the tube that goes in between the two halves of the like main component. Here's the vial that would connect, and again, this is what would fill depending on your Uber charge with random liquid similar to the Ubersaw. I think kind of keeping that feature across both this and the Ubersaw, since they're both going to be doing very similar things, would make a lot of sense, and it would add the add to the aesthetic of the weapon quite a bit. And I'm looking at this now, and I'm not sure this quite fits the TF2 art style enough. I think realistically this should be a little bit taller, so I'm gonna move this up and I'll kind of draw around it, but I don't know, like this looks a little bit too out there, and maybe it's just because I drew it a little bit too smooth. Yeah, there's a lot of things I could try, and I don't know which one I want to go with. The corners, I guess the flattened corners look a little bit better. I'll probably add like a drum on the, or I guess a cylinder on the bottom, but yeah, there's a little bit of work that's gonna need done, I think, for this to be fully fleshed out. Okay, here's what it looks like with a cylindrical, like, syringe container on the bottom, and I like this, actually. I think this works pretty well for the design. The perspective's a bit wonky, as always. Perspectives is my my main weakness when it comes to drawing literally anything, but it's just an advanced concept or something. I'm like, I'm out here to get the concept, not necessarily the, like, recreation of the Mona Lisa in syringe gun form. And it just occurred to me that the alignment of this is a little bit off, because right now it doesn't really fire. It kind of like fires into the hilt of the gun. So let's boost this up to where it could be a line. And I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and stretch it, and we can like fix all the weirdness that comes with that. And I think honestly for a silhouette, this is about as good as we're going to do it. I'm going to add a bit more specific details this time that I think are more than just decoration, but I'll keep the design section of this one a little bit shorter, because realistically, I mean, this is pretty simplistic, but I think it does the job. Okay, so without any team coloring, here's the mostly detailed version. I improved on the handle a little bit. I added a trigger, added something, hold on, okay, there we go. Added a connector between the two sides, so it's not just the tube. And I added the like weird thing that you'd end up loading in. So let me add a little bit of team color. And this doesn't exactly fit in with the TF2 art style. Maybe we could just say it's like RD asteroid themed. I was not intending it for it to look this futuristic and sleek. I was trying to go for a more, I guess, like retro-futuristic feel, but I didn't want to just draw a ray gun either. I wanted this to actually look like it could shoot syringes, so I don't know, dude. It's just like make it look cool. Maybe if anyone, because I know a couple people modeled the other one that I made, and I'll show all the cool wrench models that were made and all the redesigns at the end. But yeah, maybe you can try to fix this one in the TF2 art style. I don't know. I should point out that this U is not a smiley face. It is the Ubercharge symbol as seen by the manpower power-up. So figured I'd add that on there to give it a little bit of flair. It worked, I guess, but yeah, here's like generally this. Let me add some liquid and some syringes, and then I think I'll be done. Okay, I think this should do it. I I went a little bit to town on like the syringes and the juice there. This would be about 50% Uber. I added circles for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. This weapon obviously isn't the most thematically consistent with the rest of TF2, but I still like it. It looks really cool, in my opinion. Let me know what you think I could do to make this fit in with TF2 a little bit better, but I think it's time to give this a name, and we'll call this a weapon. And to name this, I think I'm going to use our old friend Google Translate here. Let's enter in a couple things that might be interesting. Actually, before I do, the names that I'm thinking of generally are, or I guess the two ideas are, number one, I know that one of Medic's voice lines is, fine, I'll do it myself if I have to. So, like, something about taking matters into your own hands. I think that's the first one. The second one is something about, like, absorbing power, so kind of like the counterpart to the Blutsauger. Either one, I think, would work pretty well. And I think the name that I'm going to go with, I did a lot of deliberation, so I'm not going to probably include much of that, but the name that I'm going to go with is the Human Battery. The two reasons that I'm doing this are, number one, because you are quite literally sucking people's energy to use as Ubercharge. So it's human battery in terms of like a power unit, but it's also human battery because you're like literally battering people, and it's like the medic getting violent, and it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a double entendre, kind of not. I couldn't find a super good translation of the German, so I'm probably just gonna say the English one, and maybe you guys can suggest either what the German name would be or a better name if you have one. But yeah, let's take a look at overall what's kind of here. So conceptually, I really like this weapon. I think encouraging medics to be able to run around and shoot people is something that TF2 desperately needs. Like I mentioned in the beginning, medic is just, especially just to me, not a very fun class to play. Just being tethered to one specific person is the only means of realistically supporting your team is just not a very good way to experience TF2, and I would much rather have like my own ability to run around and shoot people, and then like either build up an Ubercharge to use on my teammate or be able to like use it on myself. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities if something like this were in the game. Not only something that like builds Uber on hit, but also allows you to boost yourself. Personally, I would be partial to letting you boost yourself with the syringe gun in stock TF2. Maybe not the crossbow. I feel like being able to instantly activate a crit crossbow might be a little bit crazy, but if you like activated the crit syringe gun or whatever, I think that would be a pretty good niche use for that weapon. So overall, I like this. The only thing that I think this might need to have is some kind of restriction on the Uber you can gain while you are actively using Uber, because obviously, like, if you've used Ubercharge, like the stock invulnerability Ubercharge, and you're just like WM1ing a heavy, you're probably going to end up gaining more Uber than you're actually draining, so you're just invincible forever if that happens. Something to make it so it's like you couldn't gain back any Uber while you're currently using your Uber, I think might be necessary. Maybe not, who knows. But other than that, I think a concept like this would work really well. In terms of the design, I liked the magnet wrench more. This one doesn't really feel right in TF2. It would look really cool in like any other game, but in terms of TF2, I trust modelers and all of the people who are better artists than I to come up with some better stuff. Normally, Normally I do fan art at the end, but I want to take a special mention and show off some of these right now. I got some really cool redraws, some models of the magnet wrench that I really want to show off because you guys are really good at modeling and redrawing. Like, goodness gracious, some of the things in here are really cool. But yeah, those are the fan arts. Keep them coming, and I have absolutely no problem showing off some of the talent in my community to everyone else. So if you want to model this, my Discord's in the description. Feel free to show it to me. Otherwise, have a good one.